You mentioned that if you had to restart from scratch, you would do it in Rust. So why not re-implement it in Rust today and
There's
not
people
contribute?
who there's definitely talk about doing that, and there's also been talk about modularizing the transaction engine so that the transaction engine could execute in a VM, and then you could implement the everything because the transaction engine having multiple implementations of the transaction engine would be very challenging. So you can imagine a situation where the transaction engine is sort of compartmentalized and runs in a VM, and then maybe like the code around it that does the overlay and the database and the client queries could then be written in any language. It could be modular. We would like to have the code be more modular. It's kind of annoying that you have a monolith that has the consensus engine, the transaction engine, and client queries like all monolithically. That would be great. The big challenge is the certain bits of the transaction engine, particularly the payment engine, are not well enough specified that you could have. So another possibility is like, let's specify how that payment engine actually works. And if we wind up with a situation where we can't specify it, let's fix it. So one example of where you might be unable to specify the payment engine is we use something like floating point, imprecise math, and some of the numbers. And the net result of that is if you do like a plus b minus c, you can get a different result from a minus c plus b because of the precision. And there may be cases where like we have to sum up a bunch of stuff and we just do it and subtract and add the things and we just do it in a random order. Just the code does in the order it happens to do it. And so if you try to specify it to produce the exact same result in another language, you need to execute those operations in exactly the same order. And if we picked an order that the code just happens to use that is illogical, it would be like you could actually specify, yeah, actually you have to do like Z minus Q plus T minus R plus, right? Like that would be annoying. We would probably want to respecify and have an amendment where at one time we switch over to a more organized, clear, coherent version of that code. And that would be a plus that would be a win all around. But even if we can't do that, we could isolate the pieces of code that have those annoying quirks, like the payment engine, and maybe modularize them into a VM or something, so that you could at least have different implementations or other languages for pieces like the overlay. If you're interested in that, you should talk to I think Anshal Malhotra at Ripple. She is. We've actually got some proposals from some companies to do some of those pieces, and we're making decisions now about what we think is worth doing, and what the order of doing things would be. But it would be nice. They've also talked about like having formal specifications for all of the various transactors, which would make it easier to have multiple implementations of them. So yeah, I definitely think that'd be a good thing. It's just not easy at all.